gentlemen, and welcome back to Dinozor Gaming, where we learn to be a better player. Today we have an exciting matchup for you guys here, a finals of a locals played between Supreme Leader Snoke on an aggression 30 health base, fighting off against none other than Qi'ra on her famous data vault. Now, both of these leaders have had some very interesting new tools in the set that launched recently, Secrets of Power. And while Qi'ra has had a lot more tools in red, things like Topple the Summit, for example, even the green version got some very interesting new cards to play with, and we're going to see which of these old leaders got updated the best and which one is going to be able to fight it off. One of those new cards is going to be the Imperial Trooper that we just saw Snoke play down, a 3/3 on 3, something that has always been good since the start of the game, and unfortunately for Qi'ra, no turn 1 plays. That said, that is somewhat normal for a Qi'ra deck. You usually don't run a lot of turn 1 plays. Sometimes they'll just have Pershing and a Pike Sentinel, or maybe Pershing and an Inferno 4. You usually have a lot more room in your deck for bigger units. And especially with Data Vault, your odds of drawing those first turn plays are lower. That said, it's not usually a problem, and we're going to be seeing with the initiative a Super Laser Technician dropped here. Qi'ra is going to be able to ramp, which is exactly what you want to be seeing as Qi'ra. At the end of the day, this lets you deploy on the next turn. On turn 3, Qi'ra is going to be able to come out, and with a lot of the new plot tools that Qi'ra has access to, things like Cad Bane or Chancellor Palpatine, you're going to be able to make a huge swing really early on. No ramp, however, for Snoke, and instead we're just going to be developing the board further with a Special Forces TIE Fighter, an interesting tech choice, probably due to the Swarm decks like Han and Vader, and it is a villainy card, so Snoke is able to buff it up. Now, of course, that Super Laser Technician is going to be trading in, ramping Qi'ra up here, and Snoke opting to simply deal as much damage as possible, knowing that their units are not going to be surviving very long. I mean, I think it goes without saying here that the beatdown in this matchup is going to be Snoke, and it's going to be up to the Snoke player to see if you can deal enough damage to that data vault and kill them off before those big threats come in. At the end of the day, Snoke is playing green-red villainy, which is, while it is a very sturdy, strong pairing of colors, it does not have any tools whatsoever to deal with those big ships. So if we do see an Avenger or a Devastator come down, there is likely nothing Snoke can do about it, so you need to win before those start coming down. We do see a Pershing plate here from Qi'ra that kind of cuts off a lot of the options for this turn. At least as the Snoke player, now you know that there is no Overwhelming Barrage, there is no Cad Bane that's coming, so you feel a little bit safer. But with 3 resources left open, we still have the possibility of a Chancellor Palpatine on deploy, and that does flood the board significantly. Looks like that's exactly what we're going to be seeing here. The Qi'ra player declares that they're going to do the when played for Qi'ra before plotting. Of course, that's the sequencing there is extremely important. This way the new cards coming in will not be damaged, only some damage on the existing cards. Pershing takes a couple, Qi'ra goes to her typical 4/4, and 1 damage on the TIE Fighter, likely not too relevant here. Now Snoke does attack the base with the TIE Fighter, dealing 2 damage, and Qi'ra does attack. That's interesting. Now as the Qi'ra player here, if you were holding on to some interesting cards like Overwhelming Barrage, it might have been better to claim the initiative there. I don't think that 4 damage on the base is going to be too relevant, considering you are the control player in this matchup. But if you don't have access to it, might as well get that 4 damage in regardless. Now we are moving into the 6th resource turn here because both players did end up ramping, and this is when Snoke gets to deploy. But on a board like this, when your opponent already has 5 in play, just deploying Snoke like that is very dangerous. So you're likely going to have to try and stall out some actions, attack with your smaller units first, see what your opponent does. Maybe they'll spend some resources first. But you do have access to Cinta, and Cinta will guarantee that you get some damage out of your leader before it gets defeated. There's always the chance of a rival's fall, and that's not what you want to be seeing as Snoke, because most of the time your win condition as this deck is Snoke himself. If Snoke is able to deal somewhere around 10 to 11 damage to your opponent's base, you've likely dealt enough for your late game units like Devastators and Ruthless Raiders to finish the job. That said, nope, instead we're just going to be seeing 1 paid by Snoke. I apologize for the little blur on the camera here. We're having some slight technical difficulties with the focusing. It'll be resolved in just a few seconds. But still, yeah, we're looking. It seems like Snoke is just stalling it out. Both players are just waiting for the other person to spend their resources first. And unfortunately for Snoke, they are completely out of dirtling actions to do. Has to take that Snoke out of the sleeve, not a transparent sleeve. And there we go. Snoke is deployed as a 4/7, only 5 resources, so you can't plot out a Cinta, and I don't think there's many other plots that you would be playing in Snoke. There's of course the possibility of your own Chancellor Palpatine, but considering you are a much more aggressive deck, that's usually not something you'd run in the main deck. Now, based on Qi'ra's attack here, we're going to see a spy token he'll deal to the Snoke that kind of signals that there is no access to any overwhelming barrage or any rival's fall, and so here Snoke feels a bit more confident. That means now I can buff up, I can make a giant Snoke. My opponent just declared that they do not have an easy way to kill this, so let's make it as big as possible, and we're going to see that with a craving power here, taking out that Qi'ra. Qi'ra didn't end up doing too much, and even that Ogdo Bogdo coming in, those are some big stats, but you don't have the time to attack with it, because now Snoke attacks base, buffs him up by +1/+1. That's already dealing 8 damage here. Now, unless Qi'ra claims and doesn't spend the other 3 resources, Snoke is going to claim and deal another 9 damage to the base. At that point, it's going to be so far behind for Qi'ra that it's going to be very hard for Snoke to come back. And so indeed, we're going to see Qi'ra take the initiative here, and hopefully they'll have an answer for 7 that is going to be able to take out that Snoke. It's going to be difficult. Snoke is currently at, oh boy, it's at 10 health, having taken 2 damage, 8 health left on that Snoke. Is there an easy way to get rid of it though? Oof, only time will tell. We're going to see a Maul come in here, and I think the players have done a slight miscalculation here that Snoke should have been at 8 health remaining and would not have been taken out. Well, ladies and gentlemen, remember to do some good math when you're playing the game, because math wins games. If that Maul had not accidentally killed off that Snoke, I think Snoke would have won this game immediately. Let me just double check here. Snoke had 2 damage on it, and it had a craving power, so it was still at 7. Having attacked, it would have been at 8 health. Yep, that's not enough for Maul to take out. A slight misplay here, but the game moves on. I'm going to see a Vader come down here for Snoke. Probably going to ambush into... what are you going to ambush into here? It's interesting, because now with 1 damage on that Ogdo Bogdo, it is able to attack. So if you do ambush into the Palpatine or into the Ogdo, the other one is able to clear out your Vader. So you can maybe attack into that Pershing, force both of your opponent's attacks onto that Vader, maybe making it so that Vader turns into a board wipe. It looks like that's exactly what we're going to see here. And no units pulled. That is insane. In a deck that's this aggressive and this fast, it is very strange to not see anything pulled out from Vader, and I think that is going to pretty much allow Qi'ra to stabilize at this point. With only a 3/3 TIE Fighter left in play, Qi'ra will be able to deal with that with no issues. However, we are now at the 8 resource turn, and this is where aggression villainy shines. The Devastators and the Ruthless Raiders are able to come in and deal an absurd amount of damage from hand, and while there's a lot of great control and defeating tools in blue-green villainy, the healing is fairly limited to cards like Reinforcement Walker that we just see here. And indeed, that Devastator does come down here, dealing 4 to base. We're looking at 29 damage on that Data Vault already. Is there going to be a clean answer here? There's 9 damage worth of 9 hit points worth of units in play, so even an overwhelming barrage would not do a clean kill here, but a hyperspace disaster would do it. What a great card choice here from Qi'ra. One of the great new cards from Secrets of Power immediately wipes out both of those cards in space. And at this point, I think that Reinforcement Walker is going to be able to heal off any necessary damage here. Especially with only a Von Rex TIE Interceptor coming down. My god, this looks like Qi'ra has stabilized. We're going to see a Super Laser Technician come on down here, answered by an Inferno 4. Both players at this point just playing out whatever they can. Qi'ra is sitting in a somewhat comfortable position here. You still have 8 health on your base. Am I counting this right? We're at 26. There's 7 health left on that base. There's nothing that can deal 7 immediately. So you're feeling a little safe. However, there's always that threat of a double Devastator coming down, a Ruthless Raider into a Devastator coming down. So this game is potentially still far from over. So we're going to start off the turn by dealing a little bit of chip damage here from that Super Laser Technician, opting to attack with that first in case it dies. A Reinforcement Walker is going to heal that up real quick. Doesn't matter what you're getting rid of here. That Super Laser Blast is no longer very useful. Another 3 damage put back from the Interceptor, still at 28 health on the Qi'ra's base. Oh, it looks like we're going to be dealing a little bit of damage to the Interceptor here, likely preparing for a devastating gunship or a Cad Bane. I think this next card played by Snoke is going to determine how this game goes. It's going to be an HK. That's not what you want to be seeing. It looks like a lot of the early draws are coming in now. I mean, to think about it, that Vader that was played a couple of turns ago looked at the top 10 and didn't find any 2 or 3 drops. So there's a good chance that a lot of those big cards like the Raiders and the Devastators or the Mauls were placed at the bottom of the deck. It is an unlucky thing, and it's one of the main downsides to playing Vader. And yep, it looks like all the 2 drops are currently in Snoke's hand, not finding what he actually wants to find. Looks like Qi'ra here is going to be playing a no glory only results, trying to decide what to kill. An interesting situation here, because if you do steal the Super Laser Technician, you get the ramp, but at this point, is ramp worth it? However, because of the HK, when you steal something, you're going to be taking 1 damage to your base here. And when you're this high up in damage, it's somewhat dangerous. At this point, if Snoke just claims and finds that Devastator, that's game over. Looks like we haven't found the Devastator quite yet here, dealing 3 damage from that Trooper. That 3 damage is probably going to be healed right off from that Reinforcement Walker though. And while Qi'ra looks like it's just stabilizing and healing off, some chip damage is being put on the base. That Snoke's base is currently at 18 damage, which is the right amount of point where Qi'ra can probably turn it around at this point. If you simply attack the base with Reinforcement Walker, you put your opponent at 6 left. That means that if they don't find an answer to kill you this turn, you just claim and you win. But looks like we don't even need to worry about that. Overwhelming Barrage comes down and cleans up the entire board, and that's now presenting 11 points of damage. Which means that when Qi'ra uses her leader ability onto Devastating Gunship, pumping that up because of the grit, you're showing lethal for this turn. So unless Snoke has an answer to either one of these units right now, Qi'ra takes this game. We're going to see a nice little 8 damage placed onto the base here. I think this pretty much seals the deal. The next card played by Snoke is going to determine the fate of this game. Do you have an answer to that Devastating Gunship? Do you have a Sentinel in space? Because if you don't, that's game over. And we see their hand here. There is no answer whatsoever. I think Snoke is going to, Snoke is going to give an experience to that Vane. Hope that maybe you can Craving Power it, but I mean, even if you do, Qi'ra just claims initiative and wins the game here. I don't think there's much to do. And indeed, Snoke realizes this, and that's it for game number 1. A little unfortunate on the miscount on Snoke's health here, but that kind of stuff happens. You need to always double check everything when you're playing the game. And that is going to be it for game number 1. We'll be right back with game number 2. And with that, folks, we are back and we are going into game number 2 here. The initiative is going to be with Supreme Leader Snoke. We'll see if the cards that were sided in are going to be helpful. Playing against a deck like Qi'ra Green or any blue-green villainy, this is something you expect as a player, and so it's very easy to have sideboard cards to play into that. However, for the Qi'ra player, playing against Snoke Red is not something you usually expect. So it's one of the main advantages of playing a rogue deck like this, is that your opponents won't have a sideboard option for you specifically, and that could be just what you need to steal some games off. And we're going to start turn 1 here from both players by a simple 2-drop here. Interesting to see the Dark Trooper from Qi'ra, not a card you expect to see from a control deck, but it is a great turn 1 play. It usually trades into a lot of your opponent's cards. And an HK from Snoke, which is a great card, especially in a matchup like this. This early on, if it stays on the board long enough, it's going to deal an absolute ton of damage here. Even if it ends up only doing an extra 2 or 3 damage from its ability, that's a lot of extra damage for a 2-drop. Both players here just dropping a Super Laser Technician, looking like it's going to be a very simple ramp game from both players, and Qi'ra is going to get to her 5 resources on turn 3 once again, and we'll see if that deployment is going to be as devastating as it was last time. Now with the initiative, Snoke has the option to choose what to trade that Super Laser into, and it's probably going to be that Dark Trooper. You want to force your opponent to attack with that Super Laser into your own units, stalling out an action, and indeed we're going to be seeing that 2 damage dealt to the Trooper here. Oh, very interesting here. We see the Dark Trooper attack the base instead. I think this is a big mistake here. Now your opponent has an opportunity to do something to that Super Laser Technician, and indeed that's what we see. That Traitorous comes down. Traitorous steals the Super Laser Technician. Insane play when we expected both players to be at 5 resources. Instead, we're gonna see Snoke run his way up to 6 resources while Qi'ra is still at 4. That was a devastating blow, because now not only are you double ramping, but you're also completely clearing your opponent's board while you deploy. And that 1 extra resource that's going to be gained from that Super Laser Technician is not going to go to waste here. Insane play here, dealing 1 damage to the base from HK, 1 resource left open, so Snoke is able to buff up that HK. That single play gave Snoke around 4 base damage plus to deploy. Never mind, Power of the Dark Side comes in, interesting here. Supreme Power Dark Side coming in kind of dictates that Qi'ra probably has the second one in hand, because if they don't, that was a very dangerous play. If you don't have another answer to this Snoke that was just deployed, it's going to be dealing an absolute metric ton of damage to your base. Already having dealt 5 here, let's hope Qi'ra has another answer, because otherwise this is going to grow and grow and grow, and it's going to become uncontrollable. But even if you have an answer here as the Qi'ra, you are at 5 resources, your opponent is at 7. That is often enough an insurmountable advantage, and we're going to be seeing a pass here. A pass from Qi'ra, opting to not deploy, scared of the overwhelming barrage, because if you do deploy, your opponent is able to just completely wipe out your board. And we're going to be seeing the flip right after here, 4 damage to each of those units. Doesn't seem like we're going to see a plot, and so as an answer for 7, that Darth Vader comes down, wiping out that Qi'ra, completely nullifying any opportunity that the Qi'ra player would have. Super Laser Blast is the ideal answer, but you're still 3 turns away from that, and you were hoping for an overwhelming barrage to take care of this. You don't have that, and at this point, how do you deal with this? Blue-green villainy cannot deal with such a wide and big board at the same time. That devastating gunship comes down, but there's nothing at 2 health or less. There's nothing to kill. This is looking very grim, very bleak for that Qi'ra player. Is she going to be able to claw her way back out? Now, once again, with the initiative here, we're going to be seeing Snoke attack the base, giving itself another experience token. We're already at 7 power on that Snoke. It is currently a 7-11, having taken a quick 4 damage there, so a 7-7 in play. Where's that 1 in a million when you need it, right? Jokes aside here, unfortunately, there isn't much that the Qi'ra player can do at 6. Normally, you would rely on something like Darth Vader that was energy conversion labbed out, but considering you're playing Data Vault, that's not really an option. Craving Power does come down though. Craving Power is a great answer here, killing that Darth Vader out. And on top of that, it's going to let you trade into the Interceptor. Okay, a little bit of board cleanup here from Qi'ra. That's already better than what you would normally expect from a blue-green deck, but none of the resources have been spent from Snoke, and Snoke is currently at 8 resources. There's a lot of dangerous things that can come down, like that Devastator. It looks like we're just going to be seeing that Devastator deal 4 damage to the base, completely ignoring the gunship. A very good choice because it's gonna it's gonna deal so much damage here. And again, Qi'ra was only going to be at 7. You can't Super Laser Blast. Even if you deal with one of those units, the other one is going to be able to swing at your base and finish the game. And so that's it for game number 2. It was a very fast game number 2, and we're going to be moving on very quickly to game number 3. Alright, and with that, folks, we are moving into game number 3 here. Qi'ra starts with the initiative, but doesn't find a turn 1 play once again, to be expected, and a Special Forces TIE Fighter is dropped from that Snoke. Nothing new so far, we're just seeing the same turn 1 play out here, to be expected, and this time, instead of a Super Laser Technician, we're going to see a resupply here from Qi'ra. This way, you won't get that stolen from you. But the Super Laser Technician is dropped for Snoke here, so both players once again finding their ramp. This is what each of these decks wants to do. If you don't find the ramp and your opponent does, most of the time that ends up in a very losing situation for you. So when both players do find it, at the very least, it does make for a very interesting game. However, answering a Super Laser Technician when your opponent drops a resupply is very dangerous. It was a very big risk from the Snoke player here, because if that Qi'ra was holding a no glory only results, you would basically see the exact same thing happen that happened last game. That Super Laser Technician would have been stolen and ramped double for Qi'ra. But anyways, that said, Qi'ra does flip here. Plot armor, armor of fortune, a lot of people call this a plot armor, comes out as well. And on top of that, we're also going to be seeing a Chancellor Palpatine plotted out. This is an insane amount of cards played in a single action here. The 2 spy tokens will have sentinels, so even then that Super Laser Technician is not going to be able to ramp it up. Oof, this is already looking pretty harsh for Snoke. The Armor of Fortune does pump Qi'ra up to 11, which means she will have taken an extra 1 damage from her own ability. So yeah, Qi'ra is currently a 5/6. It's pretty big. Snoke's simply going to be dealing out some damage here. Qi'ra claims initiative, nothing much to do. Vane comes down, steals the experience from the TIE Fighter, and we're going to be seeing... Oof, that's it. That's the entire turn for Snoke here. That's rough. I mean, at this point, if the Qi'ra player is able to find an overwhelming barrage and wipe out this board, I don't think that there's much that Snoke is able to do to come back. That said, actually an overwhelming barrage would not clear the board. It would clear everything except for the Super Laser Technician. We are currently looking at 5 plus 2 plus 1. We're looking at 8 health worth of units, and that Qi'ra only being at 5 power means that we would be just 1 short. You can disregard what I said. It's not quite perfect, but it's decent enough. That said, even if you don't overwhelming barrage here, I think the momentum is so heavily in Qi'ra's favor that if Qi'ra simply chooses to attack base, you can suddenly become the aggressor in the matchup. But it looks like that's not what we're going to see here. And instead, we're just going to use Qi'ra to attack and get rid of that Vane. An interesting decision, bumping that Qi'ra down to only 3 health. And now that Super Laser Technician is going to be able to trade into Palpatine, ramp up, and Snoke has a fighting chance. This is a very interesting position that people need to consider. When you have such a big lead on the board, when you have such a huge advantage, you don't need to be the one to be doing the trades. If that Qi'ra player simply attacked base, I think the advantage would be so heavily in Qi'ra's favor that the game would be almost unwinnable for Snoke. But now, because Qi'ra did some of the trades, the pressure is significantly off. And even with that vigilance coming down and clearing the board and giving a shield to Qi'ra. Snoke has gained a little bit of time, and time is exactly what Snoke needed. Ruthless Raider comes down, gets rid of that shield, and now Snoke is going to be able to deploy, and it's up to him whether he wants to... Oh, no, looks like Snoke is not going to deploy. Instead, we're just going to claim initiative here. A very good choice here. This way, if you are able to deal with that Qi'ra before you flip your leader, because right now Qi'ra it's an 8-3, and an 8-3 is going to be able to trade into Snoke and finish it off. That's not what you want to see. But 3 damage is fairly easy to do, and indeed we're going to see that craving power come down and finish off Qi'ra, pumping that Ruthless Raider up to a 6-8. Just gotta hope that there is no glory only results. Nope, we're just gonna see a power of the dark side here. And that does save 6 damage on Qi'ra's base, but it does trigger the Ruthless Raider, which means that spy token dies. It's suddenly the board is looking very even. I don't know what happened here. It was a huge reversal, and the Snoke player plays an HK47 before deploying. A great play here. You don't want to be power to dark sided when you flip your leader. And indeed, we're going to see that answered with an Ogdo Bogdo, and Supreme Leader Snoke comes out, starts dishing out the pain, 5 damage to that base, and the board has completely flipped in a single turn. This went from a Qi'ra dominance to a Snoke momentum builder. Just really goes to show how one tiny decision, such as attacking the base or a unit with Qi'ra, can really alter the entire game's course. This is where sequencing really comes in. Choosing what to attack and when really determines the outcome of the game, and this game proves it. Anyways, enough about that. We see a Darth Vader come down from Qi'ra, and is going to be searching the top 10, seeing if we can find anything, but even then you are not able to clear out that Snoke. That Vader is only dishing out 5. Even if you were to find a Death Trooper, that will only end up doing 7. The Snoke is at 8 health, so most likely going to be ambushing into that HK. But that does mean that Qi'ra only has 1 resource left open, and that pretty much guarantees that Snoke is not going to die this turn. Once again, taking some of that pressure off of Snoke. That's exactly what you want to be seeing. Oh no, instead we're going to see Vader ambush into Snoke. Interesting decision here. A very dangerous decision here, because now you put yourself at risk of an overwhelming barrage once again, having weakened your board significantly. You do have that Pike Sentinel that's blocking the Snoke's attack, but does Snoke actually care about that? There's 2 health left on Vader, there's 3 health left on Pike, and with 5 power here, Snoke is able to bust out that overwhelming barrage and clean up a lot of the board. Now with 1 resource open, however, Snoke is very aware of the fact that Qi'ra's next action is going to be to use the leader ability on Ogdo Bogdo, turning it into a 5-3 with a shield. And a 5-3 with a shield is pretty dangerous. It's going to be able to trade into your Snoke and heal itself back up. And so instead of overwhelming barrage, we're going to see the Maul come down here. It's going to ambush into the Pike Sentinel, dishing out a couple of damage here. It's going to be overwhelming 4, dealing 2 damage to itself. And what's very unfortunate about Maul in this situation is that it now has more power than Snoke, which means that when Snoke attacks, it's not going to be able to pump itself up, and instead it's going to pump up Maul. And while that is a little unfortunate for Snoke, that means that now Ogdo Bogdo has to decide what to hit. If you get rid of the Maul, then Snoke simply claims initiative and attacks once again with his leader. If you hit the Snoke, same thing, claim initiative and hit your base for 8, and currently we're looking at 24 damage on Qi'ra's base, so no matter what you do, it's going to be a massive amount of damage. Opting to get rid of the Maul instead here, and so yep, we're going to be seeing a claim initiative from Snoke. It's not worth attacking with that HK47 here. That little 2 damage that you're going to get that you will get out of that is going to be paling in comparison to what Snoke is about to do here. Actually, what's even more interesting is that instead of attacking, Snoke could overwhelming barrage here and wipe out the entire board. And that's exactly what we see here. A slightly dangerous play, because at this point, your opponent can answer with a super laser blast. But with the HK on board, that does still do 2 damage to your opponent's base. So it's not an entirely wasted action. You killed off their board, you dealt 2 damage to their base, and if they do super laser blast you, nope, never mind. But yeah, even if they were to super laser blast you here, you would be able to claim initiative and continue your onslaught. And when your opponent is already at 26 damage on base, it's easy to finish it off. But nope, we're going to be seeing a Vader come down here once again, hoping to find another Sentinel here. Doesn't find it, instead just finds a Chancellor Palpatine that doesn't bring out more spies. That only works when your leader is deployed. And so we're going to be seeing Snoke attack the... Oh no, never mind. Vader does ambush into the Snoke, finishing it off. That Snoke was heavily injured. However, that Vader dying does trigger HK, dealing a damage, and then HK himself deals another 2 damage. And we're going to be seeing a TIE Silencer come in here, just really putting that pressure on. We're currently already at 29 damage on Qi'ra's base, only 4 more to go. We saw them being in this situation before, so at this point, unless Qi'ra is able to heal it off, I mean, that 4 damage is going to be enough to end the game. We have not seen a Devastator just out yet from Snoke this game. My god, what was that sentence? We have not seen a Devastator yet this game from Snoke, so there's a very high chance that he has one in his hand. Both players are already more than halfway through their decks. So Reinforcement Walker comes down. It shows that the Super Laser Blast that he was looking for was finally found. Heals 3, but that 3 immediately added back from the Silencer here. And with only 2 resources left, there's not much in terms of healing, and so we're going to be seeing that Devastator revealed here. And that's going to be it for the game. All right, so with that, guys, that's it for this best of 3. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more gameplay videos to come, more deck techs to come in the coming weeks. We have so much more planned for you, and if you guys have a moment, please feel free to like, to comment, and if you can, please subscribe. It helps me out significantly. And on that note, thank you so much, and I will see you guys next time.